Coming to you from the LoadingReadyRun orbiting underground moon base, it's the LRRcast.
Whee!
Okay, everybody.
Oh wait.
What?
Ba-da-da-bum. 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 Anyway, Graham's not here but he's not on the podcast for me to annoy him with that, but he is working on the other computer, so I know he still finds that irritating.
I didn't know he had that many middle fingers.
All right.
Hey, how'd you all like to roll for initiative?
All right, yeah, so this week we asked for some ideas for what we do with this podcast from our chat in our Twitch chat for streaming. And one of the ideas that was put forward that wasn't stupid, because there were a lot of bad ideas put forward. Let me just say that right now.
5 people in a row said butts.
Yeah, the butt-touching podcast, while could be briefly stimulating, would probably not last a full, 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm. That's what loading times are for.
I think that could be like a talk show where it's just like, it's you behind a desk with like a pointer and people, like various celebrities come over and you poke them in the behind and there's tons of canned laughter.
I feel like maybe it's actually you have a blindfold and there's a line of butts and you have to identify people.
Whoa. Mm-hmm.
It's like
no, you interview them first and then you grope their butts and then you interview them again and try to figure out whose butt
was who.
It's one of those weird shows that like it's an institution and so nobody really questions it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was the idea that we had?
The idea
I was trying to segue.
Really?
Well,
that's why he said roll for initiative.
Yeah.
This is terrible.
All right. So the idea we're trying to do is D&D stories. So these are stories. Now you've seen us all play Lava Bears, but this is stuff. So you've seen lots of silly D&D stories be created live in front of you, but these are stories from other campaigns that we have done, and not necessarily D&D, I guess, role playing in general, because some of this might be from other things, but the sort of tabletop role playing game stories. So
hijinks.
Yes, and as is appropriate for this thing, let's roll for initiative to see who's going to tell their story first.
Alex
9.
gets a 9.
What's my dex?
I have 7, so
Right, yeah, no
low
bonuses.
initiative. Yeah, we're all like level 1 characters.
Flat-footed.
A 4. Wow.
Oh, that was a lot of build up for a low.
See that 20, Horner?
3.
Wow.
Wow. Nothing
So
over
I guess
10.
I'm first.
Wow, the enemy
second
is
with a 7.
yeah, the enemy is definitely going first in this
We're
combat.
dead.
Yeah,
I punched a kid. She died. That was
a good
phrase that one of my characters would introduce himself with in an RPG that I played once. I had rolled up a berserker, and one of the first encounters we got into was a couple of local children that had been mind controlled by the evil whatchamacallit, and she hit me so hard that it like I can't remember what my prestige class was, but it was like I had some sort of berserk mode where I just like lose my mind.
Oh no.
It was either that or I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try and knock her out, and it's like you critted.
Oh no.
Like pow, just dead. And I was
You just like knocked or blocked her clean off.
Like my character felt so bad for the rest of the game that like I would always, whenever we met somebody new, I would just like push to the front and be like, I punched a kid, she died.
So I think
he was Irish for whatever reason.
I take it your DM did not give you the option of non-lethal damage.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I think it was one of those situations where it's just like you're mad.
extremely lethal damage.
Mm-hmm. Berserkers don't really do non-lethal damage. They're more into the certainly lethal damage.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember what the class was, but like mistakes were made, children were killed.
She was attacking you.
I believe so.
I believe so. Oh dear. I was just here giving you the benefit of the
Who
doubt.
can tell with children?
That was a weird campaign. Like a lot of bizarre stuff happened. Like I think in that same campaign, we bought a suspiciously inexpensive arrow of slaying from
Was that the official magic item name for it?
From a gnomish inventor.
Oh, that's good. Always.
And to his credit, it worked. Although not the way we had anticipated, because
Did it just slay them with laughter?
It was better than that, because we realized, I think it was either me or somebody else, as they fired it, they realized that it was the wrong spelling. It was an error of SLEIGHING.
So did they get hit by a sleigh?
This ebony sleigh just materialized and flattened them.
Wow.
That seems better than a regular arrow.
It was
sleigh.
pretty great. It was just crunch.
There's probably wizards probably have a lot of fun with messing around with people with that.
We're like,
because most of the peasants are selling stuff you probably can't spell.
The
anyway.
illiterate adventurer.
Very smart. Oh, that's funny. I mean, that seems better though.
So that was a weird campaign. Pretty short lived.
Oh.
How about you?
Well, I like to play characters with high int and low whiz because I feel like that's somewhat what I am like in real life.
So mistakes were made. Character.
Well, not really. This is more like I have an idea. That is a stupid idea. No, but I have this idea and I'm sure it will work because I am very smart but also very dumb. For a campaign I was playing, actually, Paul was in it. I had this character named Pell, who I think everybody else will agree was kind of annoying because he got sort of obsessed with these stupid ideas. I found a book of Summon Elemental in the Temple of Elemental Evil. He read it, renamed it Your Granite Friend Who's Fun to Be With. And was convinced that he could make an elemental with, instead of all of these human sacrifices, he needed maybe a child or a gnome. There was a gnome in the party, so that was relevant. Or a halfling, sorry. Maybe a child or a halfling and a good ham sandwich with crusty bread and nice ham and a little mustard. And he was convinced this would work. And I never convinced the other party members to let me try it. I'm sure it would not have worked.
Of course not.
But the Pell, the character, like I said, very high int, extremely low whiz, super convinced that this would be fine. Super happy about it. It was very.
I feel like there were lots of
annoyed.
opportunities for Pell to have actually done that if he really wanted to. But we were just like, no, it's not going to work because you're offering up a ham sandwich.
Well, and a halfling. It was more like murdering the other party members. Somebody told me I should
generally
sacrifice
frowned upon,
my goblins, my coterie of goblins, which I named George, Victoria, Elizabeth, and what was the fourth one that died right away?
Philip?
What was
They're all named after British royalty.
I was going to say Ringo, but
it was the Queen Victoria. I named the one that died quickly, ironically, after Queen Victoria's husband, and I can't remember who that was. The one that died when she was and she was all sad about it. And then that's the goblin that died first. I got them. Oh. I gave them all some novelty hats, and Jer would make them make goblin noise. And they'd be like, "Oh, he's so smart, yeah!" And they would follow me around and do my bidding. And I was just like, "This is the greatest!" Do 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 do.
That is kind of why one plays D&D, is for that exact sensation.
Of, I am being an idiot, but it's fine.
So this is fun and I'm powerful and I would never get to do this in real life ever, 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 ever.
I feel like the only reason that my character got kept around is because he was actually it being, at some point, he got to be a really high level wizard, 5th or 6th level or something like that. And at that point, you're outputting a lot of damage. So many sins are absolved.
There's a sort of hand waved away.
That you are an irritating man.
That's like in Dark Souls, where if you aggro one of the NPCs that's ordinarily friendly by hitting them in the face with a great axe or something, you can just buy their forgiveness.
Just like real life.
If they have 1 health left, you go all the way upstairs and you're just
whoops,
I fucked up. So here's a pile of souls.
I feel like
make it go away.
I feel like that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
If you hit somebody and you're like, oh geez, I'm so sorry, would $200,000 make it okay?
But Paul, you're not paying them. You pay the absolver, and he's just like, it's all good.
Oh, I see.
Oh, it's the Catholic
you pay,
Church.
Some third party.
Yes, it is literal indulgences you can buy in that game.
Nice.
So,
that worked for the church for many centuries,
because they flip back non-hostile after that. So
Maybe the church,
Long-reaching fingers.
you do it like you do that, and the church goes down to the guy and is like, "This guy's cool."
I wonder if the internal aggression remains, though.
Probably.
It's like he's not. Yeah, he doesn't attack you anymore, but
But he's
You
pissed.
just notice like
the helpful advice he gives you is slightly less helpful than it would.
You're not getting an invite to his Christmas party.
hidden costs on merchandise,
Yeah.
stuff like
Tax.
that.
Things are a couple percent higher.
The
Yeah.
glowing eyes give it away every time.
Yeah.
It's like there was a sign here. I don't know anything about it.
So
Yeah, we had I had a D&D campaign that we had a large assortment of goblins following us around too for a while, which, it's the thing when you get a large assortment of goblins following you around is it starts becoming a smaller assortment of goblins as time goes on. But it got to the point, like, it got very silly because we had, like, there was one that was an evil cleric.
Goblin?
Yeah, he was like a level 1 or no, she was like a level 2 goblin cleric who had the bad habit because she was evil aligned that whenever anything scared her, she would do the burst of which normally in a good cleric heals everybody around her, but for her hurt everybody around her.
Oh.
So she
And
was not very popular.
Aren't goblins easily startled?
Yeah. There's also one that whenever we encountered anyone, immediately went up to whoever we were trying to fight and would offer his services, or try to give them recon on us. That was always good.
Wow.
How did that goblin not get shot in the back immediately?
Charming.
Yeah. We there were, and the problem is none of us spoke Goblin.
Oh.
And so there's one goblin that spoke both Goblin and the common language, who we called Goblin King because he told us his name was Goblin King.
Of course he did.
That's very
Of
similar to
course
what
he
happened to
did.
us. We didn't have the goblins following us. We kind of kept them in a basket that I kept on my back.
Goblin basket.
We had the smartest goblin who told us that he was the smartest goblin, which doesn't make him that smart, but
It's like the world's tallest midget.
Yeah.
he was at least an assistant to a dragon for some reason.
World's
However, we
smartest
did
goblin.
make a goblin king after killing all of the other goblins inside a goblin hole.
So he was king of nothing.
Yeah, well, we told him to go out and tell our tale.
Well, there's actually the end result of our goblin thing. The only goblin sort of left was one goblin peed in the face of one of the characters, or one of the players wasn't there for like a session, and so in our campaign we had thing that if you weren't there for a session, then you just sort of were asleep or something, right? And so this goblin peed in the other guy's face while he was asleep.
Gross.
And we were playing Serpent Folk, which you smell with your tongue, right?
Oh.
Yeah, because that's
All right.
snakes.
I don't know which is worse now that I think about
Yeah,
it.
so it was a
He had to
bad
drink
scene.
goblin
so,
pee.
So it was immediately when the guy got back, like the next session, he found out what had happened, grabbed the goblin and shoved him into the bag of holding that he had. Forgetting
Is there
There's
air
like
in
10
there?
minutes of air in a bag
there's
of
10 minutes of
holding.
air in a bag of holding. So his plan was to either suffocate the goblin or bring him out after 10 minutes. He forgot
Oh, no.
that there was also a bunch of weapons in the bag of holding.
no.
And the goblin didn't know about the whole 10 minutes of air thing. And so the goblin stabbed the inside of the bag of holding, which ruptures the bag of holding,
Oh, no.
which makes the entire thing, because the inside of a bag of holding is in a sort of
It's a pocket dimension.
pocket dimension,
Oh, no.
limbo dimension. And so everything that was inside the bag of holding, a bunch of weapons and a bunch of our money, just disappeared off the plane of existence.
And the goblin?
And the goblin as well. And so we went along, fine, until like the very end of the very end of this particular campaign when we're fighting the thing, and this goblin just like appears out of like a rift.
In time and space.
Yeah, riding with like a whole like group, like he's like, apparently this was a game we were playing with Dale, and apparently he actually, there was like a concurrent adventure that he had actually been running with some other people who were playing this goblin and his companions that he had picked up as he traveled the multiverse.
I want to be in that campaign.
Yeah, and so
He shows up in time to fight the big bad, triumphant.
He shows up and sees the guy who threw him into this thing.
Oh,
and
no.
so he's like, vengeance. So that was like just like a side fight that was happening. Like he didn't help us at the big bad. It was like a side fight that was happening during the thing, that they had this like, this duel that was going on while we were trying to actually fight the big boss.
Oh my god, that's funny.
It was very silly. Dale does that. Dale does that a lot. Like we'll find that like something that happened in our in like what I consider the main campaign has sort of spun off like some people who we were hanging out with, and we were like, hey guys, can you go get this thing? It's like suddenly now they're the adventurers and we're the people who sent them on an adventure, and that adventure has actually been played out by some other people that Dale got together to play that adventure, and then sometime later on we'll encounter them and Dale tell us what happened to them.
Just some sort of adventuring middle management.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting.
How about you, Ian?
Ooh, well, I'm not sure how many stories Beej has already told you about our adventures in South North.
North.
I've only done a few campaigns.
Mythical
So
South
Middle Smith.
Well, I mean, we couldn't decide which way was north when we drew the map, so
It's more, it's basically Middle Earth.
we need to go
It's where
south, north, west. Anyway, we had a lot of problems in our party with height. Let's say.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to say that.
Height disparity?
No, just navigating it.
Oh.
Different differences of height. We had one of our clerics in the party who left halfway through. We were descending a rope, and we all rolled pretty terribly, but managed to successfully make our way down the rope. Except for our cleric, who made it to just about the last 4 feet of the rope before the ground, fell, and nearly died.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well,
He just like fell straight on his head.
Yeah, just fudged every saving throw against the against falling damage and against successful landing, and just
It's so like I would think that there would be a limit to how much damage you could take from a 4-foot fall.
And
But
this is our first game, first couple sessions, so we're very
right.
low level as well.
Right.
Cleric, no sense of being able to take care of themselves. So at this point, we figure, okay, when we level up, we should find a way to deal with this, because if we ever run into ropes again, we are sorely effed. So I just discovered an ability for my fighter that allowed me to, as the text said, move at normal speed on any terrain.
okay.
and your DM ruled that rope,
rope
was
is a terrain?
Rope equals terrain, difficult terrain equals terrain, cave walls equal terrain.
So you could walk on walls and
Yes.
the ceiling and stuff.
Which
That seems suspiciously like spider climb.
it really fit the flavor of my character, who was an 80-year-old man who may or may not have had a stroke he couldn't remember.
Oh, that's yikes.
So this served me rather well when we're underground or underwater at some point, fighting a batch of mermen, and I decide to take my turn, take my second wind to get a second move, dash and charge up the side of a pulpit.
So and because of this whole thing, being underwater doesn't affect you.
Exactly.
There's a very liberal interpretation of this particular ability. That's excellent.
But it's certainly made for some interesting times. So I'm driving up the side of this pulpit underwater, surprising the hell out of a merman directly in front of him.
no kidding. No kidding.
And roll a 20 on the attack, cleaving him in two.
Two shocked pieces falling apart.
At which point his buddy blows the horn, alerting the merman village, and
Oh dear.
yeah,
Then it went bad.
then things go bad.
So basically, you're playing Conan the Barbarian,
Yes,
But
or Kohan the Barbarian.
Crankor the Unstoppable.
but who's also a spider.
Yes.
I've always we've encountered that in one of our campaigns too. People underwater blowing horns to get everybody to come. And we're like, hey, wait a minute, how does he blow a horn underwater?
Sound trouble through water pole.
Yeah, it's got to start though.
Yeah.
It's just a bubble.
That's what it sounds like.
Ian, your remark about falling reminded me of, I may have mentioned this before, but I think it's a decent, quick little aside. We ran through Tomb of Horrors one time, and my character, when I made him, I really desperately misunderstood what slow fall meant. I didn't realize that it was just like you take less or no falling damage. I thought it actually meant you like fall slowly.
That's feather
or just
fall.
like can stop your descent. You know when I found this out?
Falling off a cliff.
Falling into a pit bottomed with poison spikes.
Oh,
So
no.
I just very slowly and agonizingly
Oh, no.
was gouged to death
Oh, your
feel
character
with my
died?
slow fall.
I feel like the spikes would do less damage, but the poison probably wouldn't help anything.
It was just like, you're hosed.
Yeah, it's the same, like slow fall into lava. It just gives you more time to
That-
look at how the lava is going
That
to kill
adventure is
I would feel like if I was in that situation, I would try to go head down.
probably just
Yeah.
like in your eye.
you. So let's just finish this up.
It's, yeah, that
Wait, a
whole
slow
thing.
fall. I've got time. Slit my wrists quickly. Bleed out.
Dying in lava is probably, dying headfirst in lava is probably high up there in terms of fast deaths.
I would hope so.
I
It's
think
maybe
the
not as
impact
fast
would-
as you like.
The impact would probably hurt more than the actual burning.
Yeah.
That's true.
Might
It is
kill
just
you.
rock. Yeah.
Yeah. That adventure has so many messed up traps. Like some of them are really, really, really clever. Like there was this colonnade full of pillars. I think they were pink or something. And if you touch them, you would just start floating to the ceiling. And it was kind of hilarious and sort of like, you fucked up. Until you realize that there was a breeze drawing you towards like a grate. And
And you had no traction.
you had no traction and because you had no gravity and you would just be like gusted towards this thing. And I don't remember where it led, but it was nowhere good.
Something bad. Yeah.
It was bad. It was real bad. Also being teleported outside with no clothes or equipment.
I mean, that seems like a best outcome of two
That
of
was
Yeah.
actually
yours.
pretty good. It's like, I'm alive, bye.
Yeah, that's actually very,
See ya.
very high
You
up
just
there.
have these like really chipper spirited people returning home, bare ass naked. It's just like, where have you been? Tomb of Horrors. Going back? Hell no.
It is the best experience I've ever had in the Doom of Horrors.
Let's see. Interesting things that I have done as a character. There is a 4-1 encounter. We were playing not our regular characters who were asleep at the time when the inn we were staying at was ambushed, but we were playing a bunch of basically NPCs.
Right.
So I got to play NPC Fire Wizard Spug Noir.
Bug noir.
I don't think his name started as Spug Noir, but I purposely mispronounced it, so it ended up as Spug Noir. But Spug Noir was like a 60-year-old guy with a beard, and when Beavis is like, hey, fire, fire, this is basically this character.
Oh, wow.
So fire wizard.
And he was really, I remember him being very, very pushy about hey, do you guys know any, trying to bum spells off other wizards. and
Yeah.
stuff.
He had no spell. He's not a very good. Basically, I would a combination of Rincewind and Beavis. So super incompetent, but knew some fire spells, and was just the inn's getting invaded, and he's like, it's my time to shine. Fire everywhere, and then everything's on fire. It
Yeah.
was
No,
less practical, but it
this
was
is-
more like whee!
Wooden inn. Yeah.
Wooden inn that was went from being filled with brigands to being filled with brigands and on fire.
That is unfortunate.
Nice.
I don't know. Anything else
So-
funny happened?
There's plenty
There?
of weird stuff that's excuse me.
I still wish I knew what happened to one of the things we never resolved in the last campaign was what happened to my mount, Lady Wrathmaster.
Just went away.
Nice.
She was a riding lizard.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I never had a mount.
My-
Fun fact: they can attack on their own.
Oh,
I bet giant lizards do attack on their own.
Yes.
I'm imagining a Komodo dragon somewhat crankily wearing a harness.
Yep, and just kind of clawing and biting.
we had
I want a mount.
we had two mules with us for most of our trip, named Pegasus and Unicorn. We gave them kind of aspirational names.
yeah.
And the biggest problem we had with them was at one point we had to get across this sort of chasm, or climb across all these rocks and stuff, and it was very unsafe. And so we cast spider climb on the mules. We're like, this will be great.
Then
And
we'll ride the mules.
No. Well, no, we could get across fine. It was just getting the mules across that was the problem. And then our ranger made a series of very successful handle animal check, because obviously you have to convince the mule that it can walk on walls. And so some very convincing handle animal checks. The problem we ran into is that once the spider climb ran out,
The mules.
didn't know that they now could no longer walk on the wall.
Oh no!
So we had, they didn't die. We just, there was a few little a few tricky moments, shall we say, where we had to quickly grab one. But actually, so there's one thing with neat sort of stuff calling back. When we were very low level characters in this game that we played, this is a game that's from it's game in Pathfinder, and Pathfinder publishes what are called adventure paths, which are like sort of pre-gen adventures, but with a lot of sort of leeway to them, but sort of characters and scenarios and stuff. And so we were like level 3 or 4 characters, and we encounter this thing that's like this evil black smoke demon, and it just kicks our ass because it's this. We have to fight this big monster, and then the monster dies, and the smoke demon comes out of the monster because it was possessing it, and then grabs into one of us.
Oh no!
And then you have to like fight that guy and knock him out, but try not to kill him. And all your weapons, of course, do very little damage against the smoke monster. It was really bad. The only way we ended up killing it was we hit it with a magic spell that criticaled, and the result of the critical was that the creature disappeared completely for like 6 rounds or something.
Oh no!
Which was, and we knew so it was enough that we could like heal ourselves up, do all the stuff, and then we knew exactly where it would pop back in, so we just like surrounded that one area and like got all ready for it. But so we did this thing, and this is a very long campaign. So this is like two years later, maybe. We were playing in a other campaign, but with the same characters, a related campaign, and we're at this point we're on the moon, like you are.
Yeah, okay.
Because apparently space travel exists in the Pathfinder universe. I did not know this, but anyway, we were on the moon, and we were fighting demons, not devils, demons. So
There's a difference.
I know that
Subtle
difference.
there is a very important difference in the
Devils are lawfully aligned. Demons are chaotic aligned.
yeah, very big difference in the D&D universe.
Know your
not-
D&D baddies.
Do not try to make a deal with a demon; it will not turn out well. Yeah, a devil, it probably won't turn out well, but at least you'll get whatever you ask for.
Gold violin.
I mean, it will follow the contract to the letter of the law.
Yeah,
The contract will not be written in your favor.
So the and we encounter a dragon that is a
Moon
full-on
demon dragon.
a full-on elder dragon, because at this point
Lunar dragon?
I'm like my character is about level 17.
Jesus.
And I have what are called mythic levels in so like this is like way later. We're seriously a kick-ass group.
Your end gaming.
Yeah. And so we encounter this dragon. It's like, oh, whew, this is going to be a bad fight. And we realize this is like a type of dragon that would normally be a good dragon. I forget. It's like, I think metallic dragons are normally good. I don't know. Anyway, would normally be a good dragon, but this one is attacking us. And we do a magical thing, or one of us has the true sight goggles. And sees that it's being possessed by a shadow monster. Obviously, this is a much scarier shadow monster than the shadow monster that we fought when we were level 3 or whatever. But we know that this means that we're going to have to fight this dragon, and then the shadow monster is going to come out, and we're going to have to deal with that after we have already fought an elder dragon. So that's going to suck, and we know how scary they are. At that point, one of the other people in the party goes, "Hey, does this shrunken head still work?" And that's back 2.5 years ago, right before that shadow demon fight. We got this shrunken head thing that we didn't bother to identify at the time, did the shadow demon fight, and then identified this shrunken head thing, and it was like a thing to banish an evil, like it was what we were supposed to have used in that fight.
Oh,
Like
you did it the hard way.
The fight wasn't supposed to kill us. Wasn't supposed to be as scary as it was. And so we had this item, but we didn't actually identify it because we didn't have a chance to. And so...
And DMs get all persnickety when you're like, hey, let's take a short rest and identify something. They're like,
Yeah.
really? Again? And it's like, ugh.
And so we're like, could we use this shrunken head? And Dale is our thing. He goes, and goes back to the original, like the book that's like 5 books back from where we currently are, and looks it up. And the problem is, because this thing we were given it and it meant to be used right away, it didn't have any like limits on its power, because it was supposed to be for this guy. And so it was like banishes an evil spirits, but there's no like saving throw or no.
Wow.
So we're just boom. So we're just like boom. So that just works. And he's like, yeah, it does. Wow. Good job, everybody. You freed the dragon that's now your buddy.
You had a dragon friend?
Yeah, it was.
What was his name?
She was super cool, but she didn't actually like stick around with us for a long time, because the area we were in, like she was actually a lawful dragon, and the area we were in was completely filled with chaotic energy, so it greatly weakened her. So we sent her home.
I have
it was dangerous.
like the opposite experience that you had, because one time during an end game, we fought a black dragon inside an anti-magic field. So he had all his abilities, just about.
Because he
was guarding.
You can still slash stuff.
He was guarding this totem that was emitting like a huge anti-magic field. So like none of our spells could penetrate.
And if you like
any buffs, like just disappear when you enter it. He's a dragon.
So it's
like acid breath.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, I'm a really strong magic user as well, but I'm also just a dragon.
Like all our items don't do anything. So
no, the bolt of slaying.
Well, this was a different campaign where I think
disappears.
I feel like our fighter went in and just started wailing on it, and I was a sorceress, and I was trying to figure out something. I was like, wait, so I telekinetically lifted some boulders and threw them into the field.
Right, because they keep
Because
moving.
it's like, well, inertia doesn't go away. And so I was like just doming it with these giant chunks of rock.
Yeah, we tried that in a fight. We had this whole plan.
Yeah.
That we were going to go into this thing. We knew we were going up against a really bad, scary wizard. And so we're like, anti-magic field. This will be sweet. We'll load him up, anti-magic field. I mean, our wizard won't be able to do stuff, but
he can stand back and hand out potions.
But that's a small price to pay for. We're going to totally shut. And the big thing is the guy won't be able to teleport out, because he'll be in that. Because that's always the danger when fighting wizards, is they're going to just, when they get hurt, they'll teleport away, and you'll have to fight them again later. So we're like, this will be great. Go into the fight. Throws up the anti-magic field. The first thing the guy does is cause a massive earthquake that drops a whole bunch of rocks everywhere, and which blocks us off from each other. The wizard throws up the anti-magic field, which causes the invisible 6-armed with a sword in each of its 6 arms, huge snake with 6 arms and the face of an elf. To appear right beside him, and he got some stupid 12 hits per round or something, and so our wizard just got shredded.
That's bad.
It was bad.
Was your wizard okay afterwards?
Well, luckily in D&D, it was one of those things where we were like, okay, run, pick up the wizard, run, and teleport, find the one place where we can teleport out, because of course in D&D death is not so bad.
Yeah, we had a character get beheaded and then restored to life before the round ended one time. The way they RP'd it was his head gets cut off, floats up, and then just like comes back again, and he's just like, what happened?
It's like, don't even worry about it.
In the there's actually a thing in the Pathfinder universe, at least. There's a special. There's a clan of assassins called the Red Mantis Clan. Mm-hmm. And part of the deal, if you hire the Red Mantis Clan to kill somebody, is they kill them, and then they put an enchantment on their body so that if they ever are brought back to life, they'll come back and kill them again. Because realistically, hiring an assassin to kill a guy when resurrecting somebody isn't even that hard.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's not like that's not a practical thing. So you have to have the insurance
like
that
a
the guy will stay dead.
It's a
That's
wonderful
good
guarantee.
service.
Yeah.
That is good.
That's a
service.
lifetime guarantee on your work.
remains destroyed.
A non-life guarantee.
Yeah. I remember when we were doing Temple of Elemental Evil, we found and fought that Banshee. And your character got so scared your soul left your body. But conveniently, underneath the Banshee was a scroll of limited wish. And I'm pretty sure that my character was advocating pretty hard to use it on, like, a golem or something like that. But the rest
Something
of the...
useful, something practical.
Yeah, so the rest of the party convinced him to use it on to turn into a scroll of resurrect, because I think limited wish does anything up to like level 7 or something like that,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
resurrect
it was-
is a level 6.
It was one of the few things that actually would, because I remember that because it was like, it's like there's a banshee. It's like doing the whale thing, which is very scary. And I'm
My
like,
character's like, we should just run away now
I'm like,
anyhow.
run away, and I'm like, I was like a dwarven fighter, and I was like, okay, this, so, and I I failed my will save, and it's like, okay, you are really scared of this thing now. I'm like, okay, am I run? Like, do I have to run? And Jared's like, no, you like, you don't.
You're
like,
just terrified.
It's not compelling you to run. You just are really scared. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I go and I fight this thing because somebody's got to fight this thing. And I go, and then you have to roll it every turn. I roll and I fail again, and it's like, okay, your spirit just left. And I'm like, oh, I didn't. Oh,
Yeah, the Banshee whales, right?
I'm like, but it's like, oh, so it goes from I'm scared to now I'm not only dead, but like my spirit is gone.
yeah, we saw your little
fast.
spirit
Yeah,
running away.
My spirit was like just booking it down the hallway.
We're like, oh, come back.
I'd like,
and then meanwhile,
oh.
my character, who's also failed one willpower save against like the Banshee, is just like, and just like kind of covers his eyes, like launches off like every like high level magic spell and like obliterates this Banshee. And then it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. It's like, you son of a bitch. I love
It's
that
like-
character.
I felt like Jared did not accurately represent the severity of the situation.
Confused. Does that mean that when your spirit leaves, it becomes an NPC?
Apparently.
Yeah.
It's like, see ya, suckers.
And then we did like the scroll of resurrection, and my spirit just comes back,
Trots back.
Hey.
lies back down into the
I
body.
saw a martial arts movie that was like that, where they get imprisoned inside like this giant worm creature, and they're like all caught up in like webbing and stuff, and they're just like, what do we do? It's like there's nothing we can do. Like it's our last resort. We have to like separate our souls from our bodies, and so they perform this like stance or whatever, and then like their ghosts come out and they like form together and like they summon all the swords and then like blow it apart, and then their bodies fall, and one of the guys is like soul return, and he like goes back into his body, and the other guy's like soul return, like skims it and, like goes launching
whiffs.
off into the sky and is gone.
Oh, no.
It's like bad end.
Bad. You got to get your soul aim
Yeah,
better.
That's an organ bag.
That is Chinese Ghost Story 2 for those of you who want to watch it. It's very good.
So, yeah, it's D&D, especially like it's weird. Like this some of the campaign I was playing. It was like a 2.5 year campaign, right? So it's like
You get very invested in your characters.
yeah, and then of course by the end of it you realize, for the character it's been like maybe 6 months,
3 weeks.
yeah, or so like it hasn't really been very
Man,
long.
I leveled up fast.
Yeah. He's like level 1 little noob guy talking to his friends, and then actually our guys started out at level 0. So they're level 0. And then he goes away for like 6 months and comes back and
And
literally
people are like, wow, Larry, you've changed.
training montage.
basically like for my character I was like I basically like the gardener at like a church, because and then he became a cleric and all this stuff. And when he came back, like he literally had talked personally to his god and had like a conversation with her, and she helped him out, and he had they had, and he had a magical sword
Come
and
to
all
an
this kind of stuff.
understanding.
Yeah, like it's like literally like more than any like one of the most powerful priests of this particular god in the world. After like 6 months, like, oh geez, why didn't I do this before?
Because it was incredibly dangerous.
It sucked. I mean, it was probably a sucky 6 months for him. I mean, he did. There was all sorts of opportunities for the world to end, people to die.
But it's all very exciting.
Yeah.
Yomp.
Yeah. I guess anyhow that was fun D&D stories. D&D is wacky.
Stories. Yeah, and if you get a chance to take part in a D&D session, I highly recommend it.
If you are looking to start playing D&D,
It's fun. but
it's fun.
that's largely a function of the people you play it with.
Yeah.
and
There's no replacement for a good D&D. Like, no set of rule books or, like, fluff text or anything will compensate for having a bad DM.
But I have to say though, playing D&D can be fun and it can be easy to get into. If you are looking for an edition to start with, I recommend 5th edition. It's streamlined and sort of easy to pick up. I give it a thumbs up. Obviously, Pathfinder is also good. A little bit more complicated. You might want somebody who has probably DM'd a couple times before if you're going to get them to DM a Pathfinder campaign. And
certainly, yeah.
I just have to say, it's okay to hook up with randos, because if you
That's
live in
how I met my D&D group.
yeah, like if you live in a big city, there's always people looking for extra players. And I have to say, my friends Clara and Gnome got together when Clara and a couple of her friends wanted to do D&D, but there's only 3 of them. So they put out an ad on Craigslist. Gnome answered, and Clara and Gnome got married like 4 years later.
Aw.
So there you go. So
Nice.
D&D can bring people together.
I think there's even some D&D looking for players or stuff threads on our forums. So
Also,
check
if
that
you're,
out.
If
Local
you're
game
ever
shops.
daunted...
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's not just, we're not talking, it doesn't have to be D&D. There are all sorts of other
any other
RPGs.
RPG.
Yeah.
Or no system at all, which is what I was going to say. Is like, if you're really daunted by rules, you don't actually need any at all. Because when I was like a teenager, we used to do like just freeform RPGs where it's just like, we'll write down some arbitrary traits of a character, and then the DM will just decide what happens.
Yeah,
It's like there's it's a little trickier, but it can work.
When I was really young, I used to do this thing that was called a mind maze. And it's basically you have one sort of 2 or 3 people or more, and it's one person who's sort of the storyteller or the DM or whatever, and they just are like, okay, you are standing in a place. In front of you is a big castle. To the left of you is like a desert. To the right of you is a big forest. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And it's just basically the boiling the whole thing down to its barest essentials. The actual story. I mean, a lot of people like the actual mechanical stuff of role playing as well. The actual.
Yeah, I mean, because it just sort of codifies a lot of like abilities and
you're like, no, you can't do
skills and
that.
stuff like that. I mean, and it's also sometimes like, man, like this is really cool. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
And
It
it's
can
also
kind of
just like,
give you
what are
kind of
my-
a jumping off point.
Well, it also narrows your options. It's like, what do you want to do? It's like, well, you can do anything. It's like, well, I don't know now.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, pick from this list of things.
Yeah.
It gives you some toys to play with rather than just having to use your imagination for everything.
Yeah.
So that's what the source books
But it all
really
comes-
ultimately give you.
It all just comes down to the same principles as improv.
Yep.
Yes, and listen to your partners.
Yeah, there is actually a lot of overlap with improv, isn't there?
I mean, certainly. I mean, it's essentially, D&D is essentially improv. I mean, there is, that being said, you don't have to be, an amazing improv person.
No.
Not at all.
You definitely don't have to be good at it to have fun.
Certainly, yeah.
I feel like it can only enhance the experience, but I don't think you need to be too concerned about like how skilled you are at playing D&D.
You just do what you feel like, but listen to your partners and
Yeah.
add.
And try not to block other people with what they want to do.
Yeah.
Because it's all about being awesome.
Unless one of
Yeah, exactly.
unless one of your party members is advocating that you sacrifice another one so he can try this golem spell,
Yeah.
then that's okay to say no.
Generally, sacrificing other party members
Then
is
the way
the
you
time
considered
confuse
to be a
that
no-no.
becomes interesting.
There's a
Yeah.
time and a place.
Yeah.
it's like, I want to sacrifice party members, yes and no. We're not doing that.
Yeah. Oh man. Speaking of party members, remember one last story. Tally was playing this halfling, and she got killed, and we took her to go be resurrected by the forest druid. And they're like, do you want her resurrected the same thing or roll the dice?
Oh, no.
And we're just like, roll the dice, roll the dice, see what she comes back as. And we were so excited, and Tally was actually super pumped because she's
no.
I'm sick of playing a halfling. What else am I going to be now?
A squirrel.
No, human. Womp womp. She was
Womp
so
womp.
disappointed
It's like, oh, I'm so tall and
boring.
boring.
She was hoping for like, goblin. Like the options were like goblin, dwarf, elf, like a bunch of different types of elves, and like human and nah.
Let me tell you, Alex, squirrels are totally OP. We played with 3 of them in my last campaign. One of them rided on my back the whole time.
That's pretty good.
Nice.
All right, this has been D&D Stories.
All right.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye.